Okay, everything is being recorded again. Let's talk about operations with subscriptions. And in this case, we know a subscription can be renewed. We know a subscription can be canceled, etc., etc. But what happens along that life cycle? What is happening when we cancel a subscription? And what configuration might this depend on? Those are a couple of things that we will see in this module. What are we doing? We're going to look at, of course, the concepts, subscription workspace, and again, the operations itself. So let's start looking at the concept itself. What is a subscription? How do we define a subscription in our ecosystem? A subscription is an object that contains all the information about the service ordered by the customer. So, like I said, it is from a talking perspective, it is a service that the customer can keep using, etc., etc. And that is what I think most people assume when we talk about a subscription. We've got a service, or something will be delivered on a regular basis. Like, I've got a subscription to the newspaper. Every morning that newspaper ends up in my mailbox, those kind of things. However, what we consider a subscription is an object in our database, and that object contains a couple of other services, other things. First of all, the subscription service. What are we subscribing to? What is the actual thing the customer will receive for this? Then we've got the subscription period. How long did this customer subscribe to it? Was it a monthly subscription? Was it an annual subscription? Was it a quarterly subscription? Was it a triannual subscription, etc., etc.? It also mandates two other things: the subscription life cycle. You will see in the subscription what renewal orders there were, what billing orders there were. They're all part of that subscription. They're all bound to that subscription. And of course, in the end, we will define what the service terms are. What happens if that subscription finally is not renewed? What happens at the end of that period? How are we treating that subscription, that service? So, subscription service, when you plug a device into an outlet, it does not necessarily mean that the device will start functioning immediately. Sometimes you need to do extra steps to switch it on. In rest of the cases, you just wait until it boots to get access to a system. The same happens with a subscription. It's needed to create a service, to activate it, and to make it accessible for your customers. That means that there are a couple of statuses. Each subscription has two independent but loosely related statuses. And the fact that it says independent and on the other side I talk about loosely dependent makes it a little bit weird. What we mean with that is that there are, let's say, statuses that rely on that same object, where the one is for the actual object itself and the other one is for something that is the result of this object. So the first one is the subscription status. The subscription status is the status that we think the subscription should have. This is basically our bookkeeping status. You have an active subscription, or you have an ordered subscription that has not been provisioned yet. You have a subscription in the status credit hold. That is our vision. That is our view in our Cloud Blue commerce world of your subscription. And then we have the service status. The status that the service, I would almost say, should have from a customer's perspective. So if we have a active status, it means that the service should be running. If we have a credit hold status for the subscription, it means that the service status should be stopped or suspended, depending on how the call is done. if we have a status for the subscription that is ordered, but that order has not completed yet, the service status is not provisioned. And there are more, like I said. Those statuses are visible in the system. If I log into the system, there are two places where I can watch subscriptions. Here we have subscription status and provisioning status. And in billing, we have the status, which is the subscription status, and the service status. So this is what we just talked about with the slide. And you see in my UI that I have a couple of subscriptions in the ordered status, and those are not provisioned yet. And I've got subscriptions in the active status that are just running, up and running. So actually we have this slide in a live demonstration. Why are those in ordered, not provisioned? Well, because I still have 3 orders in a manual action required state. These orders have been paid for, but have not been provisioned yet. So what I can do is I can open that order, go to my subscription list. You see now that this one goes to provisioning. It's not that my billing talks to some backend system. This is just, it looks at where am I in that sales order process and what should be happening now. And then based on what comes back from operations and from operations maybe from Connect, etc., if it fails, it will show that it is not provisioned. It goes back to that status. If I refresh it, it will probably be already up and running. So that's where those statuses come from. It looks in my order flow where it is working. I'm going to do this again for this order, open order, and I'm instead of going, that's weird. I want to go to operations. Come on, quickly. Don't do that. Subscriptions. I was already, last page. I was too late already. Here we have an enabled and provisioning status is in progress. So there are different statuses. What was the original subscription ID? It was 293, operations, subscriptions. There it is, it's enabled. So let's look at that last one. And guess what? If I press enter now and I search it, it's not there. Why not? Well, because operations has not been told that this subscription is there, because it only exists as an object in billing at this moment. If I start this order, this sales order, you will see that it is provisioning in operation. So let's do that and hope that I can quickly go there, or I can go there quickly enough, I should say, to show it to you. I go to that order. I click open order, open operations, subscriptions, 294. It's already done, as you see. So this is a very fast service. Normally you would see something like provisioning at this point. So why is it on the operation side important to see a subscription status and a provisioning status? Because this also takes into account that a subscription has been canceled and that it was not deprovisioned yet. It's still there. Why is that? Because of sometimes a delay of pay-as-you-go items. Sometimes the last, let's say, billing information comes 3 days after the cancellation order. So we keep those objects for some time, and after 30 days of a canceled subscription, and a terminated subscription. Let's see if we have something like that. Probably not. Let's go to the next page. Obviously not on this platform. There is a failed, there is an in progress. Here we have it. We have a terminated subscription where again, the provisioning status was completed. That means that this subscription has been deprovisioned, or has at least told to the system that it should be canceled. It's Microsoft, so we cannot cancel it. But this stays here until in a month. And you see there is a secondary date here. The secondary date says the termination date. So this is where the subscription should have ended. It's terminated. If we want to know what this subscription is, we can go to billing in a second and search for it. But the deprovisioning was successful. But if something comes in for, let's say, a pay-as-you-go last invoice kind of thing, the system at least knows that this ID, this subscription 1,269 has existed, and it was from this and this customer on this and this reseller. So the system knows that it can bill this. That's why we keep them in operations. In previous versions, or in older versions, I think we changed this in version 8 or something like that. We would in operations just throw away the subscription if it was terminated on billing side. The downside of that was when that delay started to happen on Microsoft side for Azure and stuff like that, all of a sudden we could not bill that customer anymore, because the usage came in operations, and operations did not know where to hand it off to. So that's why we do it now this way. You will not find this subscription in a month anymore. Let's go to billing and see what this is all about. Let's go to subscriptions. Control V. Oh, wait a sec. Reset search. I have to go to subscriptions, all subscriptions. This was a subscription from a reseller. Let's go back to operations and search for this one. Operation reseller. Control V. Search. This is a subscription from vendor Peter Christiansen of the account Chilean company. So let's go to Peter Christensen, general staff members, log in as this user, go to the classic panel, subscriptions, customer subscriptions, Control V. There it is. So it's terminated, completed. That means that I should be able to find it in billing. There it is. So it was terminated and removed as expected. So billing says this is ended. Expiration date of this subscription was at some point a certain amount. We try to cancel it. Operation says, yes, that was successful. We keep it for a month to see if there is something coming back for that. So that is how those statuses, not only in billing, but also in operations, work together. Let me close a couple of tabs and go back to my slide deck. Provisioning, we can do manual scenarios. If, for instance, we have a PLM in-house product that we created ourselves, we can approve something for provisioning. We can mark it as completed. We can mark it as failed if it is waiting for manual input. What's more, there is a subscription period. There could be a trial. We can see longer periods, and in that subscription, we also see what the customer is paying for period fees. You will see a field for setup fee, even if it's 0. You will see a recurring fee. You will see, etc., etc. Not only about the subscription itself, but also about the, let's say, the resources in that subscription. Because the customer might have started with a single subscription with 1 license in it and then upgraded a couple of times or upsized a couple of times until he had 3, 4, 5 licenses in there. All that information is visible in the subscription object. And of course, since this is about orders, etc., this is all about the let me go to billing, by the way. This is all about, what did I want to say? Oh yeah, this is all about the billing subscription in this case, what we're talking about here. Let me go to subscriptions. Let's take my last page, the VPS. Let's take that one. I see the status. I see the service status. So this is the subscription status. This is the service status. I see my subscriptions period. I see my start and end expiration date. I see all the fees that I have for the box itself, but I also see that I have 1 additional resource. Why additional? Because it was the minimum amount. So the system forced me to buy this 1 license. I also see the orders, in this case, waiting for payment after provisioning. Process, let's see. A payment is needed for this one. So I need to put in a payment for this one, otherwise it will fail. Add a new payment. Let's do $12 for the payment method. In this case, let's do a check or cash. Next. I have to release this payment. I actually received that. Check invoice. So this order is now waiting for a consolidated invoice. That means I cannot generate this invoice because this customer has that single invoice per month. This is one of those customers that is set up as a per account billing. It's called consolidated invoice in the error messages, but it simply means that I am charging this customer per account and not per subscription. It's an orange customer, right? Of course, I can switch that back if I want to. This all has to do with the demonstration that I just did. This is something we already discussed, so I'm quickly going through this. Subscription period versus billing period. We talked about these definitions. What I don't like is the image below it, because it talks about things that I don't understand. I don't understand how this could be part of billing, because you never, if you do 4 payments a year, it's quarterly, unless the subscription does not start in January, in which case the story again is wrong. If the subscription starts in January and it's a postpaid thing, you pay in March, end of March, and end of June, etc. If it's a prepaid subscription, you pay at the beginning of January, beginning of April, etc. So the person that created this slide deck is not able to alter it anymore. This is a correct one. This is a postpaid monthly scenario. So we see that information in our subscription again. And of course, where does it get this information from? It gets this information from the service plan. And basically, a subscription is the instantiation of a service plan that a customer bought, with all the choices the customer made along the way. So let's go to my subscription tab. and take one that is active and running. Let's take that one. And here we have the fact that this is an annual subscription. And here we see what the rest of that information is. And this is not something the customer chose. This is coming from the service plan itself. This is where we have a billing period. This is where we have a last billing date and the next billing date. This is where we see what auto renewal is, or the auto renewal model is, what the billing model is. So a lot of extra information that we take from the service plan. Why is that important to know? Because if you change some of this in the service plan itself, it will not automatically reflect on the subscriptions to that service plan. Prices do not automatically update. Policies, service terms, etc., do not automatically update on service plans. They will update when a customer renews his subscription, or when the system renews that subscription, or when you manually push those changes out as a synchronization, or you pull it in for the synchronization. Example could be that you have a service, customer subscribe to it for, let's say, a price of $10 a month, and he's half a year into his subscription, his yearly subscription, his annual subscription, and at that point, you raise the price to $12 a month, but you add a service to it. So he gets more for a little bit more money. The customer in that case could wait 6 months to renew. But if that is a service that he really, really wants to have, and he's good to pay that extra price, he can call support and he can decide that he wants to synchronize his subscription. So let me do something like that. Let me change this service plan number 6. Service plan number 6. And let's say we raise the price to $110. The recurring fee is now $110. Save changes. And what? Let's do it another way. Let's do an edit here. And probably it has to do MSRP 110. Let's say this is 11 cents. And I'm saving this. I'm not 100% sure why it did not want to do that earlier, but I made this happen. If I now go to general and I see that nothing happens, I go to that specific subscription, VPS services. I see that the pricing here is still 0. That from a resources perspective, the customer still is paying and it's not visible. That's a weird one. I thought it would be visible here. That the customer would still pay $1. How does that work? Well, that has to do with synchronization. If I now synchronize, I can select what to synchronize. Be careful, don't check all the boxes, because it might have unmeant results. But what I want to do in this case, I want to not only update the prices of the resource, but also install new resources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately install those new resources into the provisioning system. So I want to give that customer immediately access to that new service that we added to this service plan. And at the same time, he's going to pay that higher price, because he wants the service and he's willing to pay that extra price. So synchronize. So now we push out that synchronization to the customer, meaning that from now on, this customer will will have access to that newer service or newer resource, but he's also going to pay a new price. Something that otherwise would only have happened after 6 months, right? That is the idea. You can play around with that. This is where I pulled in the subscription, meaning that only this subscription will have that extra service. If I want all subscriptions to have the new option, I can push it out from within the service plan itself. I can, at the bottom, I can update all subscriptions. Here you see the same choices, except for some extra on top here. And we can update all subscriptions from here as well. Basically, we push out the change. We will talk about synchronization in slides a little bit further, but I think that this is a better moment to do it. We look at the subscription life cycle. We've seen this one. Only now it says first subscription period, second subscription period. We have our renewal order. We can put in cancellation orders. We have our billing orders, etc., etc. Change orders. This is your life cycle. You will find all those orders along the way in the orders tab on the subscription itself. There's your orders tab. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And the last thing that is involving your subscription is the service terms. The service terms, as I said before, is what happens at the end of a subscription. You assign them to the service plan so that every subscription that is made to that service plan will have that same behavior. And what is the service terms? Again, we define, in this case, 2 periods and a little checkbox. The first one is the grace period. The grace period is when the customer still has access to their service, but they're not paying for it anymore. They cannot change it anymore. And then we've got the hold period, which is you don't have access, but we still keep your data. And that means that you can revive your service inside that hold period. And as last configuration, there's a little checkbox that says destroy service after hold. In most cases, when you're talking about cloud services, you are not the person to mandate those periods, because each cloud service will have its own configuration, will have its own settings, and you are probably not allowed to do it different. Which means that your service terms in the platform should follow the actual service terms that the vendor has. As for instance, in Microsoft's terminology, Microsoft has a grace period of 30 days, a hold period of 90 days, and after those 120 days total, they throw away the service. And of course, what we want is we want to align Cloud Blue with what the service itself knows. Why am I saying that? Because sometimes people think, hey, let's make the grace period shorter, or let's make it longer. We tried this. Microsoft doesn't have an API to stop a service that way. Not because of grace period. And specifically, Microsoft does not have an API to delete the service. So if you shorten the hold period in Cloud Blue Commerce, the Cloud Blue Commerce system will think that the service is not there anymore, does not exist anymore. There is no data. So from a Cloud Blue perspective, you cannot revive the service. You cannot go back in and say, hey, I want to save this and I made an error. I do need that data. I want to spin it up again. The downside of this whole story is that on Microsoft side, it's still there, but you cannot find it anymore because our platform does not allow for it at that point. So we always advise, if you have cloud services, and most of you have a lot of cloud services, create a service term according to the settings of the actual vendor. So that means create a service term for Microsoft 365. 30 days grace, 90-day hold, destroy service after hold. That way, the statuses are aligned. And let's look at those statuses in the example of that first scenario that we have. We have a subscription status and a service status, right? And during the first subscription period, when nothing strange happens, the subscription status is active and the service status is running. We run our billing orders along the way. And when the first subscription period ends, we expect a renewal order, right? However, if that renewal order does not happen, either the customer does not want it anymore, so he switched off renewal, auto renewal, or you did that for him, or it's a service that is not auto renewing, and he received that email, but he does not need it anymore. He actively says, switch it off. We go into what we call the grace period. The grace period happens after the active subscription. From a customer perspective, this means that the service is still running, but the customer cannot change it anymore because he's not paying for it anymore. But he can make backups of the data. He can keep track of emails still sent to that mailbox to notify these people that they should use a different mail address from now on, etc., etc. That is what the grace period does for me. It allows me to take the last backup. It allows me to monitor who did not receive my address change, my email address change notification, and stuff like that. At the end of the grace period, the hold period starts. And the hold period stops the service. And when that service is stopped, the subscription goes into the expired state. But this still means that the data is there. During that period, and for Microsoft, that is not 1 month, but that is 3 months, 90 days. I can recover that service because the data is there. There is something to recover. At the end of that hold period, I have a checkbox. Let me quickly go there, quickly. We have the checkbox, destroy service after hold. So if we check that box, something different happens than when I don't check that box. That's most of the time the case if you have a checkbox. There is a difference between it having it checked and having it not checked. If I check it, it means that my service will be removed, or in the case of Microsoft, has been removed. We don't even try to send a notification for it because in our connector, because we know that there is no API that answers on that one. However, if we leave that checkbox unchecked, our system thinks that the data is still there. So in Cloud WooCommerce, you will see a button that says recover. To be honest, there is nothing to recover. So I don't know why you would do that. But there might be services where you want it because they handle it different. They advise you to set this scenario in a different way. In both cases, the subscription itself says terminated. Terminated simply means not only has it expired, but you have gone beyond the, let's say, freshness date of this subscription. It's graced, it's expired, and then you're beyond that. I personally, like I said, advise you to not set your own and make up your own service terms, unless it's a service that you own yourself, where you have a delete API, where you have the option to keep it longer for whatever reason, etc., etc. Be aware that if it is terminated and stopped, Cloud Blue will not clean it up automatically. So if you don't have a mechanism in place to clean up such data, your service storage will grow and grow and grow, because We will not eventually go back and say, hey, let's clean up this because now it's a year old. We do have a button that says destroy now, but that means you have to go through that scenario, through every one of those subscriptions that is in the terminated and stopped phase, and then say destroy. You better have a longer hold period and automatically destroy it after the hold. Otherwise, you have to implement, let's say, a cleanup mechanism. From my perspective, the hold period longer and that checkbox after that long hold period is the cleanup mechanism. So, but that's up to you. So this is where we end up eventually, where, of course, the second subscription period that it says that is here. I don't know why it's there. There is no second subscription period, right? It's not there because there is no renewal. So we go to grace, we go to expired, we go to terminated. The workspace, we have the workspace in billing, and we have the same or a similar workspace in operations. Both have two columns for status. I explained to you what the use is of these two in operations and what these two, or what the two are in billing. Let me do one thing. I want to put this account on credit hold, put in whatever reason. Service status history. Service has been stopped. If I now go back to my general tab, you see that the service is stopped. If I go to operations, to my subscriptions, and I'm searching, let's search for the same subscription. That makes it a lot easier. This is 293. Let's take that ID here. Copy. Go to operations. Find subscription 293. Here it is. You see it is disabled. When we stop the subscription in billing and the service stops, the subscription status in operations says disabled. So that there is no difference between credit hold and administrative hold in operations. Operations has, does it work or does it not work? Is it enabled or is it disabled? Right? It's a key thing. Let me enable it again. Release from credit hold. You can see the history. So you see that this one was stopped. Stopping for this reason. So maybe if you put reasons in, it's good to mention why, because it allows you to troubleshoot. It allows you to see what has happened to that subscription. Stopping, stopped, starting, running. So those are my workspaces. If I click a subscription, we get to the details of that subscription. I think that is pretty clear. So what can you now do, and what does it result in when we look at documents of those after those actions? We can upgrade a subscription, we can renew a subscription, we can cancel, we can synchronize, we can transfer, and we can put subscriptions on hold. Those are the scenarios that we have. And what does it mean? What are those things in, let's say, how do we compare them with real life? My colleague that created this deck has attempted to make that limited or link this to a gym membership. For a gym membership, there are several things you can do. You can go and try it often, right? A week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks for either a lower price or for free. the idea is to get to know the machines, to get to know the atmosphere. Is it something that works for you, going to the gym twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever? Once you've decided that it's the right product and the free trial is over, you can, let's say, upgrade your subscription to a paid one, meaning you buy that gym membership. Let's say you're with your gym membership, you're given a locker to store your stuff while you're exercising. It's useful. As time goes by, however, you realize that you need more space because you go either from home via your gym to work. So you need to take your laptop. You need to take, let's say, some more official clothing than just your jogging pants and a sweatshirt, or the other way around. You come from work in your neat clothes. You go and you have to store all that in your locker before you go home. So you, instead of going from a half-size locker, you go to a full-size locker, which is, let's say, a change of resource limit, a change of resources, the number, an upsize, let's say. Eventually, your gym does not only have the machine room, but it might have a pool as well. And every once in a while you think, hey, it might be good to not just pull weights on the machines, etc., but either before or after go for a couple of laps in the pool. But that's a different price. It's a different service plan. So you can change that service plan from weights only to weights and pool. During your subscription, you've been charged on the same date, but that date is no longer convenient, or the gym was closed for, let's say, restoration for 3-4 weeks, and that bothers you because you paid for those weeks and you did not get the service. They can do two things. They can either give you a refund for those 3 weeks, or what they also can do, they can change the expiration date of your subscription. So instead of, let's say, ending your subscription on the 30th of April, they add 3 weeks to it, and now it ends without extra pay on the 21st of May. You get the same time for what you paid for, only they compensate for the closure of the gym. It might also be that you don't like the scenarios that they have, or they open a new location closer to your work or closer to your home that you want to go through. First you traveled a triangle, now you can almost travel in a straight line from your work to your home because the gym is on that way. What I can do is I can, what we call, change the parent subscription. So you have the gym membership itself, where that pays you for this location, and you want to transfer to the other location. And of course, I might have, let's say, a quarterly subscription, and instead of doing a quarterly subscription that pays, let's say, $30 per month, I want to go for an annual subscription that pays $25 per month. So while subscribing longer, I pay less on a monthly basis, and everybody's happy because I actually like exercising. That is what we can do. We can upgrade our subscription. So what are we talking about? We're talking about changing that resource limit. We are going to a, let's say, larger locker or to more lockers. This results in a change order. The change order is created in billing. And does it show me something extra? Yeah. What does the change order charge me for? The change order charge me for, of course, the resource recurring fee, the extra resource recurring fee, if it's let's say, an upsize, and that will be prorated based on the date it is now and your next billing date. So if that's halfway the month that you upgrade, you will pay half of the resource recurring fee, the extra price. If it's a downgrade, of course, you can get a refund. Another thing to do is you can upgrade your subscription, the entire subscription. You go and change a service plan. Also, that is a change order. What do you do there? Of course, you pay the prorated recurring fee for the new plan, and you get a refund of the current plan, of what you paid for, of course. If it's and the plan recurring fee, when you upgrade, you can decide how you want to do that. Let me configure that quickly. Let me go to a service plan in my platform and configure an upgrade. Let's see, is there an upgrade configured on this one? Upgrades, yeah, there are things configured. If I now open this and I edit this, where does my new subscription period start? Because I upgrade to a month, or I upgrade from a year to a year. What are the beginning and end date of my new subscription, or of the subscription to the new plan? Does it start where the original subscription started? So let's say I bought that one half a year ago for a year. That means I only have a half a year of new service. Or do you want that upgrade to actually not only be an upgrade, but also a renewal from today? So I have half a year of old plan, and from today I have a full year of the new plan. Besides that, I can also charge the customer for the fact that he made the change in the first place. So for clicking that button upgrade now, I can charge something. When would you do that? When there is an MSRP, I would almost say, because it's all self-service or it's managed services, in which case it's probably included in the managed services price. But I can charge for the fact that you upgrade. That doesn't mean I pay more for the new plan. That's happening always, but the fact that I click the button could cost me some money. From trial to paid, of course, it's another change order, because it's again an upgrade, and from now on we start charging a plan recurring fee. So those are the order types with what we have to pay for that. We can renew.
May I make my question before you move along? Because it's referring to the previous topic.
Okay, let me go back then.
I saw it, yeah. So when you say that, okay, I upgraded my plan and then I will generate a prorated value for the new plan that I subscribe to, but then I have a refund for the period that I'm not using on the old plan. Yeah. Where can I see this refund? Because this is not a refund document.
No, it will
line charge. I know that, but where can I see that in the system?
It should be on the change order.
Oh, it will be on the change order. Yes, true.
Yeah, because it's all on the same bill.
Yeah. Got it. True. Thank you.
You're welcome. Renewing a subscription, like we said, there are two ways to renew. One would be a person that does it, goes into the subscription, says renew now. The fun part of that is this action can be done whenever you want. And it's not always very clear what the result is, but if I, for instance, have a subscription that I'm using for a year, I'm into this subscription for half a year now, which means that I still have 6 months to go in that subscription. But now you have a very nice, let's say, promotion that if I renew this subscription now, I get the first 6 months of my new subscription for a lower price, I can go in and place that manual order. The new subscription will not start today. The new subscription will start right after the old subscription ended. That sounds like a very open door, and that sounds like very logical, but some people seem to think that if I press the renew button now, the new subscription starts now. That is not true. The new subscription just starts at the end of the old. That's what the whole idea of renewing a subscription is. You have an old subscription, that one ends, and then the new one starts. However, the action can be taken anywhere during the life cycle of that first subscription. You will see just the end date move over a year or a month or whatever. Of course, we also have the option to automatically renew. And when you automatically renew, there are a couple of things that you need to know. And we discussed that when we talked about the subscription, setting up the service plan. So I'm not going into it very, very deep, but there are two ways you can do that: before expiration, so many days before expiration, or you can do that on what we call the last statement day. Last statement day is, as I said, the last day that we bill this customer for this subscription, or we touch the subscription, because even if it's prepaid, fully prepaid, each subscription will be touched once per month. The result will be, hey, there's nothing to charge the customer for, but it will be touched. The system goes through every single subscription every month. Not always on the same day, depending on the billing date of the customer. It will charge a customer. It will touch that subscription on that day. But the last statement day, even if it's a fully prepaid, last statement day means that the last time this subscription will be touched by the daily billing process. And for a trial to paid, what happens if I set automatic mode? If I have automatic renewal switched on the service plan, a manual renewal is not possible, at least for the trial subscription to automatic. If that from trial to paid, if that subscription is from at some point a paid subscription, you again can go in and manually update it. As a result of the renewal process, the renewal order is created in billing. So what can we find potentially in that renewal order? Well, the first one is that renewal fee. If you set up a renewal fee for the plan, for the resources, it will be charged during the renewal order. And if the recurring fee is paid before subscription period, so the fully prepaid plan, that price is also paid in the renewal order. If plans and resources are paid before billing period, the renewal order will only have a renewal fee, and the recurring billing orders will charge for those recurring fees. The fun part of a before subscription period plan is also that even though the subscription is touched, you won't see the billing orders because there's nothing to bill anymore. The customer paid everything up front. In the sales order, you pay the full year up front. In the renewal order, you again pay the full year up front. As opposed to recurring fees that are paid on a monthly basis, or at least on a recurring basis. Cancellation results in a cancellation order. What do we charge? If refunding is switched on for the service plan, the refund will be calculated. So this depends on the cancellation policy of, let's say, Microsoft. This counts for a service plan that you set up to have a, let's say, prorated refund if you cancel it earlier. If you say there is no cancellation, no recurring fee or no refunds, of course, this part will not be charged. However, there's also the possibility to charge a cancellation fee. A cancellation fee simply means that we charge the customer for everything, for the fact that he cancels his subscription, for basically for the loss of your income. Because if he cancels a subscription, it means you have less income that you thought you would have. Because if he would end it just at the end, you know that no, let's rephrase that. You don't know whether or not after this subscription there's more. But if you expect this customer to pay until, let's say, the 31st of December, and he cancels on the 30th of April, it means that from the 1st of May until the 31st of December, your budget is different than you thought it would be. So that's what my cancellation order does. It's the resource or plan recurring refund minus the cancellation fee. And if, of course, one of them is zero, the cancellation fee needs to be paid. If you don't have a cancellation fee, but you do a refund, the customer gets money. And we discussed the synchronization already. We changed resource limits. We added new resources, or we removed resources. We set new prices. If you, or normally what happens is that these items would take until renewal to start happening, because basically a renewal is the new start of a subscription, which means that it looks up to its service plan to see, okay, what did change? We have new resources, or we have less resources, there are new limits, and there are new prices. However, if you need to push it out, I can imagine that if you have a very fluctuating exchange rate and you buy from Microsoft in dollars, that you at least want to set new prices on a regular basis, weekly, daily, monthly, whatever you want to do, and you push it out. In that case, synchronize from within the service plan. And then we can transfer subscriptions. I don't like transferring subscriptions and to talk about it. Why? Because in most cases, it does not work because there's a limitation. What are the limitations? The limitations are, I can transfer a subscription from one customer to another customer inside the same seller. That means that I can do it from within reseller A to another customer in reseller A. All the resources in that subscription should support transfer. So if you have a subscription that includes licenses that you assign to service users, guess what? It already will not work because a service user can only exist in one customer. And service users are not transferable. So any subscription that you bind to a specific user is not transferable. Some services don't even support the transfer from one customer to the other, even though there are no service users attached. So transferring of a subscription for me is a little bit tricky to do it inside the CloudBlue platform. We do have migration tools. We do have tools to migrate subscriptions from one platform to the other. We do not have all tools to migrate a subscription from one customer to another, because if we have services bound to a specific service user, we cannot recreate that service user because there will be a collision. The login of that service user is his email address. So there will be a collision if two logins are the same, right? So be careful that we do have a transfer button there, but not all services support it. There are some reasons why it might be done. Like I said, I don't like this story because I've noticed too often that we do have the feature, but the feature doesn't work. I see a hands up. Is that still, or is that a new hands up, Ana Paula?
A new one. It's a new one.
Tell
This
me.
is the thing. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Well,
can.
okay. Okay, cool. This is the thing. When you did the introduction for this module, you talked about a parent subscription. Because
Yeah.
now we are talking about changing the customer propriety of the subscription, right? But
Yes.
it's different from a parent subscription. It's a different
Yes.
topic.
It is. It is.
Are we touching the parent subscription stuff or not?
I will touch it in a second.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then if you could, I need to remember what is the parent subscription. I know you explained this before, but
I will explain it again.
yeah, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So like I said, transferring a subscription is a little bit of a tricky thing. Eventually, you will know which services support it and which services don't support it, if you need to do it. But like I personally prefer not to talk about it because it gives a lot of mess. I'd rather ask professional services or managed services from Cloud Blue to say, okay, we want this data and this subscription to be migrated to this customer with new users attached or whatever. That works often better than using the transfer button. The last thing that we have when it comes to the actions that a customer can do is put on hold a subscription. So far, we've done this, we've seen it, credit hold, services are stopped, and things like that. The thing that I talked about when we talk about parent subscriptions, I'm not sure if we will talk about that very long in the future, because our user interface, UX1, does not support buying, let's say, parent subscriptions and child subscriptions anymore. So what is a parent and child subscription? Let me go to a slide where I have some free space and I can start drawing. Let's say you have a subscription to Microsoft 365. And you want to somehow bolt on a backup tool. And you want that actually to be a little set. That means that if a customer buys M365 as a separate subscription and he let's say, how do I call it? He adds as an add-on plan, as an upsell plan, he adds an Acronis subscription that you want to, let's say, give him a little discount on that one. That's the only reason why we have parent and child subscriptions, actually. Because I can still cancel this subscription and this one stays active. So there is no, let's say, logical relationship between the two, except for the fact that I say that this Acronis subscription belongs to the M365. No orders. Let me go to billing. The first thing that you need to do to accomplish this is you have to allow for such an upsell process. And you do that not by configuring upgrades. That is basically I go from one Microsoft plan to the other, but to configure what we call upsales. That means that I have a child and then I buy, on top of that, I buy an upsell, Acronis backup tool, whatever. And I only do that for whole category. So I could specify something here that says you can upsell backup tools. The moment you've configured that and a customer places an order, and like I said, this only works if you have configured upsell, and it only works in Classic Panel. You can define what the parent subscription is.
It
Meaning
not
that
works in the API, right? I can put in the API, the APS
yeah,
API.
the API has that capability as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But the problem is UX1 does not support it or does not have the feature enabled. We have been complaining. I'm not even sure if it's in the roadmap. However, when would this come into play? And let me quickly go to my list of modules. Where are we? I need that one. This is something that we do in the next session, but I'm going to take a little bit of a disclosure there. If I create a promotion, I can create a promo by parent plan. So what I can do is I can set a promotion for instance, that, oh, wrong one, that Acronis plan, that if you buy it just like that as a normal plan, that you pay full price. However, if you buy it as a relationship to that Microsoft 365 plan as an upsell, then you pay 50% of the price. And for me, this part is the only reason why we still have parent and child relationship in the Classic Panel, because we can set promotions. The problem is that I cannot set that I cannot use that promotion when I'm doing things in UX1. So if I'm selling to a customer in UX1 as a reseller, using the reseller marketplace, this option is not available. I cannot say, hey, I buy this one, and on top of that, I want to buy my Acronis as well, meaning that I should get Acronis for cheaper. So I'm not really sure how long we will still have either this feature or this field, because the relationship between two plans is getting harder to set. Plus, the configuration is a disaster, because it means that you have to think about for each and every single plan that the customer buys what the upsell capabilities are. And you can imagine that from a configuration perspective, that is a lot of work that eventually will probably not even pay off. Ana Paula, tell me.
So considering that you say that in UX1 we don't have it, it means that the PPR does not have this capability, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So also when in the introduction for this module, you talked about transferring the parent subscription. What would it mean? Mean to transfer the child to another parent or something?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense. Does it make sense?
Well, it doesn't make sense anymore. But here you see in a subscription that there is a field that says parent subscription. That means that we know now that these two belong together. And if I edit this subscription, and there are possible parents available, I will have the option to change it here to another scenario. So let's say I bought, and let's go back to my example. I bought M365 Basic, Professional, let's say Business Standard, and my Acronis is bound to that one. And now I want to bind my Acronis to my Enterprise E5 subscription. Like I said, there is no logic in that parent-child relationship other than that it allows you to get maybe a different discount or a different promoted price for that Acronis subscription, because they're still not bound together that if I cancel one subscription, the other one is also canceled. So from that perspective, the whole scenario of subscriptions having a parent-child relationship is going to disappear. That's why it is an option. We can change the parent if there is a possibility for it, but probably that's a historic story, because in the future, I don't see that happening anymore. Would that answer your question?
Yep, got it.
Okay, good.
Another question though.
Tell me.
Let's say I have this basic, right? And then I upgrade it to another one. It's the
Yeah.
same subscription, so it will be still attached to the child, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you bind it to the ID of the subscription. What is in the subscription is, let's say, relevant for the parent-child relationship when it comes to discounts and promotions, but the relationship that I have from my child to my parent is just based on the ID of the subscription. And if you upgrade the parent subscription from one plan to the other, the ID of the subscription stays the same.
So what means is, let's say the promotion is only applied when I'm connected with the basic and not to the enterprise, let's say.
Yeah, in that case, probably you cannot, or I'm not even sure if there is a verification done.
Yeah, that's
First
the
of all,
question. If there is a verification done when I upgrade, if it's possible to upgrade or not due to the relationship that they have with the child.
Yeah. So it could be, yeah, and of course, every time when a billing run goes, let's say both basic as well as professional have the possibility of having a parent relationship with the Acronis subscription. However, we set up the promotion only for the basic subscription. That means that you can upgrade the basic subscription to professional, and that that will disallow you to get that promoted price for Acronis. So from that moment on, you pay the full price.
Yeah, and the billing, yeah, because even though they will be connected, because probably the subscription will still have the parent plan, parent subscription, whatever. When the billing runs, it sees that the parent subscription is not the promoted one, and then it will not have the discount. That's what I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So it makes life very complex. If you want to promote Acronis, we would say just promote Acronis, so people make a backup, right? So we are not doing that it might even be that we're not having that parent-child relationship on our roadmap anymore, because it's a complex scenario to set up, and there are so many use cases that you could use it for, that it will be a disaster. This is a little bit about the time when we sold websites, right? If you sell a website, it's logical that you add a domain to that. So that was a logical relationship. I'm buying a website. Hey, you should have a domain to that, so you can publish your website a little bit easier. Now we're more about the cloud services, where we have Office 365, where we have backup tools, where we have all kinds of other things. And I think that the parent-child relationship at least has lived its longest life in our platform, because it's not logical anymore.
Yeah, I think that a parent-child relationship would make sense if, as you said, when you have some situations, and I do have products like this, where you cancel the parent and the child go away. You know what I mean?
And that's definitely one of those things that we don't have that. It just breaks the relationship, and the child becomes a normal subscription. So from that perspective, there is no reason to have that. Yeah.
I would love it if it was hierarchy kind of stuff, because then I could use it for 2 or 3 products, in-house products we do have. But yeah.
So I think that's the reason why we don't have it on the roadmap anymore. There is no added value to it.
you could take to the people there that we would like hierarchical.
Hierarchical. Yeah.
Yeah, structure for
I
subscription.
think that
would be
it's
nice.
the problem is that they think that I'm just a trainer. Those requests should come
Oh, so
from
sad.
you
Yeah,
to
I
the
talked to
TAM
my
or
TAM.
to the product management.
Yeah, I talked to the TAM. But thank you for your explanation and sorry for
Yeah, no
putting
problem.
more
No problem.
things in training.
So
Thank you.
let me remove the ink and go for what's on the slide. What questions do you have so far?
Nope.
All right. In that case, thanks everybody for being here again. If I am correct, I see you on Friday. Tomorrow's 1st of May. You are probably off.
Yeah.
That means I have Thursday. I've got the other group. See you on Friday then. Thank you. And
Yeah,
I already
Labor
gave
Day,
away.
we're not laboring.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
do not labor on Labor Day.
In the Netherlands, we just work, right? So we do it correct.
No, we should be laboring when you're in Labor Day.
Yeah.
Not
Thanks,
correct.
guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. See you on
Bye-bye.
next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.